Good morning and welcome to the 19th annual exhibit of the Hydrogen and Fuel Cell stand here. We've been here since 1995 discussing this technology. We get into the details, but before we do anything else, I'd like to invite you to have a seat and a drink on the house. We'll be serving coffee, tea, and beverages, and you're welcome to join us for the following conversation. We'll be talking to Derk Rogers, who's Business Development Manager of Advanced Materials at Engineered Fibers Technologies. Please welcome with me Derk Rogers. I see you've brought a fan community with you.
Yes, I do.
Okay, I believe this is the first time you've been here at the Hydrogen and Fuel Cell exhibit. Perhaps you could tell us a little bit about Engineered Fibers Technologies, what you do and where you're located.
Very good. This is our first year here. We're very excited to be here. We're a small company from Shelton, Connecticut. We're founded in 1998, been in business for 15 years, and our focus right now is really threefold. We focus on one of our business units here at the show, but our first business unit is around precision cut fibers. Our second business unit is what we call our specialty products, which incorporates our F-Tech product as well as fibrillated and nanofibrillated fibers and specialty papers. And then our third business unit is our advanced materials group, which is mostly around carbon-based products, our SpectraCarb gas diffusion layer, and multiple other products in the carbon and other advanced materials families.
A strategic question, are you a large company or a small company? That sometimes defines how you interact with other businesses. So is it large or small?
We're a small company. We're 12 to 15 people, depending on production demand, which, you know, in many times is a real advantage to ourselves and customers. It makes us quite an agile organization when it comes to custom development. We can be very responsive to customers. And we haven't run into any issues as far as being a small company meeting the needs of many of our large partners.
So there is an advantage to being small and flexible. What happens when the customers and clients, they take advantage of this small, flexible business concept, but they want to move up in scale, that is, go into production? Can you deal with both sides?
Yes, good question. Yeah, we have no problem ramping up our production. In 2008 and 2010, we were involved with the China bus program that was involved with the World Expo as well as the Olympics. And we were able to ramp up our production without difficulty to 10,000 to 20,000 GDL sheets for that operation.
So you basically do both. You do what large companies do, but you have the flexibility of the small business.
Yes, and that's what I think the advantage of working with EFT is all about.
Let's talk about why exactly you moved towards the fuel cell industry and how long that has taken place. This is a small, flexible company, but you guys are materials specialists, so you have skills that go well beyond the fuel cell industry. You can deal with all sorts of materials, specific materials. What attracts you to the fuel cell industry, and when did you actually get involved?
We got involved in the fuel cell industry actually when we acquired a company called SpectraCorp. SpectraCorp had been producing GDL since 1991, so actually a couple of years before the hydrogen and fuel cell segment existed even at the Hanover show. So 22 years of GDL production is our background, but the other competency I think that we possess that makes us different is a real materials expertise. We've got the ability to work closely with customers in custom development. We've got a lab environment to generate specific formulations and production scenarios to meet customers' needs. So we're able to do that rapidly, in a short time. We're also able to take that formulation into full-scale production.
Let's get specific here so that everyone is with us and on board. When we talk about GDL's gas diffusion layers, I believe you have a sample here. This is basically one of the integral parts and a very important part of our typical PEM hydrogen fuel cell.
It is. This happens to be a panel. Gas diffusion layers essentially start as a non-woven graphite paper. It's carbon paper actually when it starts, and we graphitize it. This is effectively a panel which we can go up to essentially 1/2 centimeter in width. And the thicker panels tend to be used in the electrolyzer market, and we have a wide range of standard products as well as custom products designed from the paper formulations for the PEM fuel cells, as well as several other derivatives of the fuel cell family.
So these fuel cells which operate on pure hydrogen, this is an integral part of them. You deal with fuel cell manufacturers. And this fuel cell industry, it doesn't really have massive volume right now. If we are honest with ourselves, the numbers are relatively small. But there is a potential out there for stationary and mobile applications. We don't know what's going to come first. But we do know that many people are still looking for the optimal structure for their fuel cell components. They're still tinkering and developing things. And then they, of course, don't have the knowledge, expertise that you have to offer them. It's the same thing with brushless motors. It's, you know, we need to go to other companies to get custom designed stuff. So here's a question. In this developmental stage, are you willing to get your hands dirty with these guys, sit down with these engineers, drink too much coffee, and figure out what they need?
Yeah, that's actually our specialty, that ability to dig down and understand the dynamic of any individual fuel cell and develop a formulation that will optimize that performance. Us, like all the other major GDL manufacturers, have a standard product offering. Just like a suit that you might buy, if you're a 42 regular and it fits you perfectly, that's great. Most people are not. So what we find is, in the early generation 1 fuel cells, most people took a product off the shelf, optimized around that formulation and the mechanical and electrical properties of that GDL, and we're seeing a need and a real drive in the industry, not only in the fuel cells but in electrolyzers and even battery and energy storage, to start to optimize every component. So we're working closely with large and small companies to take their particular design and customize products for that. An interesting observation Fuel Cell Today made just recently is they feel that 2013 is actually only the 6th year that fuel cells are essentially commercially viable. And so you've got a market that's been around for 20+ years, but they're really only considering the feasibility or the viability of fuel cells in production and in use to be 5 years. So it is a young market. So we're really coming up into the 2nd generation, and we're poised to do a lot of development work to optimize not only the performance but keep the price down for the next generation.
And this is the key, of course, to success in the industry. We have been dropping prices, improving the lifespan of fuel cells, and that's been a continuous development within the industry. But to do that, of course, we have to do the tinkering you mentioned. We can't deal with simply one-size-fits-all things. So getting involved in development, that is, of course, a cost factor, both for the fuel cell industry and for you. I mean, sitting down with these engineers, as I said, drinking too much coffee and figuring out what they need, it's all fun, but it's not yet a revenue proposition. So how does this cost factor development spin off? Does it eventually work out to be a viable business model?
Yes, and there's been a perception that if you use custom designed components in a fuel cell or other electrochemical device, that you're going to be locked into developmental type costs. The way our production facility is set up, we can simulate every aspect of the paper making, the molding, the resin operations, and duplicate that in a mass production environment. So once we settle on a formulation that optimizes your performance, we're able to bring that into a full production scale at the same or often lower costs than our standard products. There's times we might actually delete or change formulations to lower cost for customers who don't need certain properties in a membrane layer or other carbon-based substrate.
How has your involvement changed over the years? Basically, you've already mentioned 1991 is when you acquired a company that already dealt with gas diffusion layers. So you're a young guy, but an old player in this industry, as this industry is a very young industry. How has your role in the fuel cell industry changed? Have you very quickly moved into custom designing gas diffusion layers? Have the manufacturers been addressing enough questions to you? Are they taking advantage of your materials knowledge enough?
I would say, as an industry, early generations defaulted to existing products. And we found that when we engaged with companies, large and small, multinational automotive companies in the transportation, small individual, one-off specialty operations, the involvement of designing a custom GDL is not that significant. It's simply a matter of understanding the properties and the demands of your particular system and having us work from a materials perspective to meet those requirements. We are not fuel cell experts, we're materials experts, and so it's a cooperative operation that has to be executed, but can happen in very short time span, simply because we can rapidly produce prototypes.
If we could move on to the fun stuff, which everyone identifies with, here we have this, we're talking about a component in a PEM cell. So basically, you are part of the PEM cell industry by virtue of the fact that you offer this very vital, it's part of the heart of the whole PEM cell. And being involved in that, you have various applications which you focus on. One of them is, of course, the mobile. And you've already mentioned this bus application, which I find so significant because it's such a key issue which everyone can identify with. In China, during the Olympic Games, they actually shut down whole industries because they wanted a blue sky and the athletes needed breathable air. So one of the few things that was up and running was your gas diffusion layers in those hydrogen-driven buses.
Yes.
You must have been very proud of that.
Absolutely, it was. It's been a great operation, and literally we've had follow-up from those projects actually at the show this week. So it's been a real win for us, and it's also been a great way to sort of expand our footprint around the globe. We worked domestically for a long time. We're expanding our visibility into Europe and Asia. This week we're doing I think we're having a great show for that. But to me, the China Bus program and its success was one of those examples where it was put into practice, it was executed, there was success. We've got data on the runtime and durability of our products from that bus program, and it's been real successful.
If I could formulate a question about where the market is going, a sort of roundabout way, the issues that exist in China are really not that far off from large populated areas. Let's take Berlin, for example, where there's already what the Germans call a Feinstaubalarm, that is the diesel dust particles. The quantity of them in the air is so high that legally we should be shutting down traffic through some areas of the city. The politicians haven't figured out how to deal with this, but basically what this suggests is even in the heart of Europe, at the capital of Germany, we may have to shift to fuel cell buses and perhaps other delivery vehicles operated on fuel cells. That's only one example, but you're already involved in the mobile application of PEM cells. Where is the market going for you? Have you got your eye on any particular applications?
Absolutely. Being in the energy hall this week, I think if any of you have been around, you'll see a huge number of electrolyzers. You'll see energy storage in mass here, and I believe even next year they're going to add batteries to this group as a study or a topic. The alternative energy sector has created a surplus of energy, but not on demand. So we're seeing a tremendous opportunity in batteries, some of the new design batteries, as well as electrolyzers. And our carbon substrates, our carbon papers, and a lot of the specialty products we develop are applicable for all those industries. And so we see a tremendous growth opportunity in all those.
We do have time, by the way, for a question from the audience. If there is a question, just raise your hand and we'll attempt to address it. You've already sort of anticipated my next question. which were among the next steps. As a materials specialist, you of course work brilliantly with the fuel cell industry, and this cooperation should continue. We encourage all manufacturers of fuel cells to take their questions to Derk Rogers, because this tailor-made application is not a niche market anymore.
Correct.
It is going to grow in numbers to the point where it will play an important role in certainly the transportation question within large cities. But you already mentioned the next steps. Here it is the materials specialist who says, oh gee, yeah, electrolyzers. That is the hydrogen production using peak production of electrical energy when it can't be consumed immediately. So there's electrolyzers and electrolysis. There's energy storage, which is the other side of that equation.
Correct.
Germany right now is producing huge quantities of wind power, and it has nothing to do with the fluctuation of demand.
Correct.
And even right now, they're shutting down these wind turbines because they don't know what to do with the energy. At the same time, they have shut down nuclear power plants, but they've exported more electrical energy this year than in any previous year. So we're really actually struggling to deal with storage, to deal with efficient electrolysis, and so hydrogen storage and energy storage are two issues. Where are you going to fit in this big future?
We luckily fit into all three. So in the generation side, in the storage side, and even in the hydrogen generation side. So it's we're lucky in the sense that we got into this business purely for PEM cell GDLs, or gas diffusion layers, and our technologies have been applicable for all of these new developing markets. So we're excited to be back here every year until we get ramped up in Europe and succeed with all these opportunities.
I'll add any questions from the audience? The impression I have of your company, Engineered Fibers Technologies, is already in 1991 you were there. And you're here now, and it sounds like you're going to stay.
Yes.
So it seems you have a conviction that the fuel cell and hydrogen equation is going to play in some form to our future energy distribution, consumption process. And you seem to be very dedicated to getting that on the road. How soon after your initial involvement in 1991 did it occur to you how large this could grow and how far this may take you?
It's been an interesting development. There's been a lot of R&D for many years. We were involved in all different facets, whether it was stationary, transportation. We got involved with electrolyzers actually early on, probably earlier than most other people in the GDL space. And what we found through those operations was that in order to generate successful long-term business, it required a co-development effort where the engineers from a certain development company would work closely with us, and that success is what drove the better performance, the higher power densities, the longevity of these systems to the point where they could take them to market. So I think in the second generation that we're going to start to see, we'd like to be part of that development cycle as early as possible. If you wait and build around a static or standard product, you don't know what you might be missing as far as the performance of your own system.
I've been talking with Derk Rogers, who's Business Development Manager of Advanced Materials at Engineered Fibers Technologies. It's been a pleasure, Derk, to have you on the stage. I hope sincerely you'll be back next year. We're adding batteries to our profile, and this is all right up your alley. So hope to see you next year as well.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Derk.